In a recent post, I looked at the Brosno Dragon, a Russian lake monster that was claimed to have been blown up by explosives. In my research, I came across a multitude of lake cryptids from Russia. Some you may have heard of, others that you may not. From human-like water-dwelling entities to the more familiar lake monsters or river serpents, let's take a dive into these Russian waters and see what we find. Welcome to IF, videos on history, mystery and the strange. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again. We start out with a creature that has been said to have been seen lurking at the bottom of a lake near the western village of Samin in the Ukraine. The animal was described as a cross between a snake and a crocodile and would hide at the bottom of the lake. The lake the creature calls home is around 56 meters in depth. Like I mentioned in the video on the Brosno Dragon, this lake has an underwater cave network that may provide the animal with a route to avoid detection and a wider habitat, with subterranean caves connected to the ocean with a number of underwater karst caves stretching across the lake's bed. The mystery animal strikes locals with fear. This because over the years the creature has been reported to have carried out numerous attacks on domestic animals. They fear a person could be next. In line with this fear is a legend which tells that some 30 years ago a local groom fell prey to the monster. The story goes that the man had been partying a little too hard. In a drunken state, he fell fast asleep in the grass near the shore of the lake the beast calls home. The monster is then said to have crept out of the murky waters and eaten the unlucky groom for lunch. As is often the case, the monster also provides a cautionary tale about the hazards of water. It is said that there was a disobedient boy who thought it would be a good idea to take a dip in the lake. Unsurprisingly, the boy was never seen from again. In the villagers' minds, he had made for another snack for the monster. Similar tales are told across Russia. There are many lakes and inland bodies of water that hide mystery cryptids. Another cryptid that is more human-like and are known as little water goblins hide at the bottom of Lake Vedel-Zero. Lake Vedel-Zero looks like your typical Karelian lake. It measures 15 kilometers in length and has a width of 7 kilometers. The lake is of glacial origin, like many in the region of Karelia, a place that is well known for its numerous lakes which are amazingly striking in colour, being pools of the clearest blue. It was during the mid-1990s that reports of these creatures began to come out of the village on the banks of the lake. One of these reports quoted the late P.F. Yegorov, a resident of the area, who claimed he had seen a large shining object fall into the lake from the sky. However, nothing was found at the bottom of the lake by members of several expeditions. Could this once again be a species of extraterrestrial that is similar to the little alien humanoids seen at Ketsberg? Viktor Spurvanov, a Russian cryptozoologist who participated in the search of the lake, published a report based on the witness testimonies gathered from the villagers. They detailed how the mysterious tiny human-like entities had rounded heads and somehow became strongly associated with the fall of this unidentified heavenly body into the lake. Another clue possibly pointing to an alien origin for these little guys. Talking about the investigation, he said, "Our team arrived in the location last fall. We asked around several old residents of the village. None of them saw any water goblins in or near the lake. I go fishing on a regular basis. I've never seen any water goblins in our lakes. I've never heard about them. And as for talk of seals, they do drop by the lake now and then. One of the locals even caught a seal several years ago. He carried a camera on that day, so he took a picture of the animal. There is nothing strange about seals coming to the lake. Lake Ladoga is not so far away from here. They just travel to and fro through the tributaries," said Vasily Everemov, head of the village council. As an explanation, these fishermen at Lake Valdelazaro may have started to spread the rumors about the water goblins after spotting seals in the lake. Seals can easily be mistaken for human-like beings when seen in the water. They have also been used as an explanation for some other aquatic cryptids around the world. Perhaps this territory has a population of seals, or possibly another species of freshwater pinniped which science is unaware of. Animals of this type were once abundant throughout Russia in the past. Another strange lake is located in Yucatan and is called Lake Kenre, located on the edge of the polar circle. The lake is small, measuring only 500 by 600 meters, and is quite shallow, being around only 7 meters in depth. The lake is of thermal-cast origin, this meaning it was created by a thawed patch of permafrost. In 1964, an interview by G. Rokozovoyev was published in which the details of a northeastern expedition carried out by Moscow State University were detailed. In this article there was an account of the events recorded by a one N. Gladecki, a migrant worker hired by the expedition. He made the claim that he ran into a lake monster on a misty early morning. The story started out with the worker about to draw some water from the lake when he saw a strange aquatic animal lying on the shore. He described an animal that had a long, gleaming neck with a small head. Its body was large and covered with blackish blue skin. It had a large dorsal fin in the center of its back. The idea of a dorsal fin suggests a fish, but it could be possible that a seal-like animal lying on its side may present a flipper as a dorsal fin. Soon after the man witnessed the cryptid, it slid down the shore and back into the water. Sometime later, he saw it again, this time standing out of the water in the middle of the lake. The animal started swinging its long tail to whip the water. The waves were rippling to the surface of the lake, he claimed. Building on the stories of eyewitness accounts, Rokozoyev added a little more color to the story. He said that the lake was void of fish and that birds would not land on the water's surface. He also referred to reports of muffled sounds and splashes of water frequently heard by locals. Sadly, researchers who went in search of the beast found that this was all a fantasy, and after they had a heart-to-heart talk with Gladekir, the so-called eyewitness, he admitted that the story was a fantasy that, for reasons he could not clearly explain, he had dreamt up and spread. The final strange monster is a hairy beast said to have been snorting at Russian fishermen. This story starts out with Professor N. Vereshchagin, a zoologist and self-proclaimed fighter against the snowman buffs. He had his work published, which included an article in which he quoted one of the letters addressed to the Institute of Zoology. The professor ridiculed the person who had penned the letter, which put forward the idea that either seals or hippopotamuses were living in some lakes in the Irtysh Basin. Others that work in the field of cryptozoology refrain from making a mockery of such reports. Instead, they prefer to research the claims before casting judgment. The late Maya Baikova made several trips to the area. She put down a number of eyewitness accounts, most of them similar to what follows. A witness said, "I was rowing my boat across the lake when I heard a splash. The sound of it made me stop. I was wondering what kind of fish could have splashed like that. I lifted the oars and peered in that direction. The next moment, I saw something big emerge from the water. It looked like a haystack rising to the surface. I looked on and saw that the creature was covered with flecky dark brown skin resembling that of a seal. It made a hissing sound and dived back into the water." Other witness accounts recorded by Baikova contain a similar description of the monster. Creatures covered with hairy dark brown skin that have been seen surfacing, at which point they force air violently out of their lungs through their noses and then plunge back under and go back into hiding. The fact that these sightings have taken place in more than one location could give the tales a little more credibility. Also, as was mentioned earlier, the fact that many of these lakes are connected by means of tributaries, and also the fact that the lakes are often remote and scattered over a large area which is sparsely populated, would mean there is more than enough space for a species to exist and thrive and remain largely unseen and unknown. This then leaves us with the task of trying to identify what these cryptids could be. The descriptions of fur suggest that they are of mammalian animal group, this making them warm-blooded and more suited to living in the Russian climate than say a reptile. The idea of misidentified or possibly new species of seal is compelling, or it may be another freshwater aquatic mammal like an otter. There have been many legends of giant otters, and we know that they can achieve large sizes. The Amazonian river otter is a ferocious predator that can grow to over 6 feet in length. It would not be that strange for freshwater seals to be living in Lake Ladoga and Lake Baikal. There have been a number of more outlandish ideas on what the animals could be, with one theory saying that mammoths have survived and become an aquatic species. A similar theory was put forward by N. Adevayev, a cryptozoologist from the city of Perm. His idea was that a relic woolly rhinoceros species was somehow clinging to survival in the cold waters. We do not need to get so fantastical with an explanation. Russia has a number of water-dwelling mammals and some semi-aquatic species too. Bears are found in water and will happily take a dip, especially if fish is on the menu. The fossil record could also come into play, as these creatures may be a long-surviving species thought to have died out thousands of years ago, possibly a giant sea cow or such like. The question won't be answered until more research has been carried out or more evidence found. Until then, we can but speculate. What do you think is behind the sightings of lake and river monsters in Russia? Have you heard of any other Russian water cryptids? If so, let me know in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.